Amnesty had been working on behalf of these refugees, the Iraqis, Palestinians, who had tried to flee the violence in Iraq and then got caught in these horrible camps on the border. And we were one of the first organisations to go to Al-Tanf and see what was happening there. And I was able to take our report to Geneva, to resettlement consultations to highlight the plight of this group. And at that meeting met up with a number of other organisations who said, look, we need to go back to those camps and we need to take that information to governments more broadly, because at that point no governments were resettling these people and they were trapped. And it wasn't until I went to the Al Hol camp and started talking with some of the Palestinians in the camp that they informed me that there was a group in Australia that was actually really interested in their plight and was trying to do their best to also highlight the situation. So one of the first things I did when I got back to Australia was to get in touch with Aspire and say, look, I've been there, I've got some information, I'd be really interested to talk with you and let's see what we can do together.
They were denied given entry by the neighboring Arab countries, particularly Jordan and Syria. And as a result, they have been stranded on desert camps, literally desert, makeshift camps for years, some for more than 5 years. So we applied on behalf of some of them for humanitarian protection to Australia.
I got involved in the Aspire in the stage where it was just technical, where it was really just about receiving forms, translating the forms, doing all sorts of different detailed work within the forms, back and forth, and there was a lot of back and forth. That was a lot of the work.
I've worked in this area for a long time, and perhaps I'm a little cynical or perhaps I'm a little realistic of how hard it is to actually get into Australia and get these particular types of visas, which were the global humanitarian visas. Nevertheless, I wanted to help him. I wanted to help because I did feel strongly about this issue, as I feel for refugee issues.
First time I've started the project, I was preparing exactly, I'm trying to imagine their faces, because I believe 100% they're going to come. But what's the faces of the people? So I don't have even like 1% doubt that they weren't coming. 100% I was like preparing myself, preparing what their faces, what those people they coming, and I'm preparing even myself to deal with any people, because the people they've been suffered for such a long time.
So I was the one that suggested that the forms needed to be filled in. When they came back, they were a mess. They were an utter mess, and I remember going through every single one of the forms and doing summary sheets of what were needed. And to Yusuf's credit and all the wonderful people that have helped, they got all of those issues organised and the forms were submitted. And it was my utter shock when we got a positive outcome. And I went to the airport for the first arrivals, and I remember thinking at that time, that's why I did law. That's why I do this job, when I saw the people come through the gate.
I think grassroots organisations like Aspire are really important because they are the ones that have that personal contact with people who are in desperate situations, like those refugees in Al Hol and Al Tanf and Al Walid, and are able to bring those personal stories to what is often perceived as a complex situation. They can humanise it. And they can also act on behalf of individuals, and once you can act on behalf of individuals, it just adds an extra dimension. You can have organisations like Amnesty and other human rights organisations talking about the situation, but to have that personal detail brought to the situation, to show the families, to show that there are people there who will support those families. And I think that's why Aspire was so crucial, because you could have Amnesty saying this is the situation and this is why you need to do something. Behind that, having Aspire and saying we will help them. If they come here, we can help them. There is a community here that is willing to help them integrate into this country and make sure that, you know, they will contribute. And that became very powerful when we were trying to advocate on behalf of the people who are in our home.
I arrived here. I asked people, and I asked people of my culture, and I went to see one of vet. You know, I asked him about what can I do, how can I work as a vet here, and then I look into the websites about vets and veterinary study here, but unfortunately my qualification is not registered to work as a vet in Australia. So they said to me you have to do study like 4 years again and apply for new course, something related to the vet, related to the biology, some, you know, it's laboratory technology, but it's not actual veterinary, but something that I like it.
So that's what you're doing now?
Yeah, I'm doing this. Yeah, it's diploma. I finished first year, now I'm second year. Nearly finished here.
Azan began, well, she was very nervous when she first came. She was very, very cautious and very nervous and very tentative about anything. She was not willing to try things. She was always holding on to someone. She's just a different kid, totally different kid. She's just become a very open, easygoing, relaxed kid who's just excited about life, yeah. So it's just amazing, the transition from the little shy girl in the little red jumper and the pigtails who was just in awe of everything, was terrified, to this kid who just, you know, owns the street, you know. It's amazing, yeah.
It's funny, the success of Aspire has sort of given me hope, but in another way it seems to be just supporting how things are done, in that this was done quietly. It's a political issue, not just because it's a refugee issue, but because it's a Palestinian issue. And there's a lot of kickback from other very powerful groups against any sort of Palestinian rights or issues. So it was done quietly again. It wasn't mentioned in Parliament. It's not mentioned in Parliament. Some of the really good things that this government has done aren't mentioned in Parliament.
They have none of the basic liberties, negative and positive. These people are really just, it's like they're invisible. There is no place for them to go. Stateless people, not just Palestinians. There's quite a few stateless nations or peoples. It's something, I mean, I have no answer for how to help them, except that the only thing that I could think of is to just help them one by one. It's just, I can't imagine living a day in the life of a stateless person. It affects every aspect of your life, and it's not just a day in your life, it's not a year in your life, it's not a time of war, it's not it's your entire existence from the day you're born until the day you go. It's terrible, terrible.
وأضيف شكري للفوضية السامية لشؤون اللاجئين بما قدمته وبتقدمه للاجئين الفلسطينيين الموجودين في سوريا. حقيقة هم يعني عملهم جبار وكبير جدا، وقاعدين بيعملوا كل ما بيستطيعوا من يقدموا خدمات لأهالينا بالمخيمات والموجودين في سوريا. فبهاي المناسبة هم بقدم شكري لهم على اللي قدموه.
أمر على الديار ليلى أقبل دا الجدار ودا الجدار وما حب الديار شغفنا قلبي وما حب الديار شغفنا قلبي ولا